In this lesson, we'll make our final alterations to the wing of our aircraft. Okay, so at this point, we are very close to being wrapped up with the actual construction of these wings. So let's go ahead and just take a few minutes to really just finish this up. Now, at the moment, right now where I have this little closer row of polygons here, what I'd like to do is take this and add just a little bit more detail just to kind of help pull out some of this actual curvature of the wing, because right now it becomes really difficult to see any curvature at all unless we happen to be looking at this a little bit more side-on. So a quick and easy way of doing this, if we wanted to give this maybe a little bit more of a World War II airplane look, would be to add maybe just a little bit of a bump kind of right along in here. So let's go ahead and try to do that. Let's switch to our split edge tool, and right along here, this might be a little bit easier to see if I were to press the minus key on my keyboard to unsmooth those. Let's go ahead and add just a line right here, just middle click to add that in. There we go. And now, with this line selected, I can now switch to my edge mode. So press the I key on my keyboard, Alt middle click to grab that edge. Now let's jump back to my translate tool. So now, if I wanted to pull this up and make a little bit more of a ridge, you can see pulling this up actually pulls it all the way up, and I really don't want it to do that. I really want all parts of these edges to really be pulled out along their respective directions. So let me just undo that, and if I go back to my transform menu, if you recall from our previous lesson, we had turned on this option to transform components independently in local mode. So we'll go ahead and turn that back on. Now once again, making sure I am still in a local mode, I can grab this row of edges and pull that out. Now you can see the difference. So instead of pulling it all straight up, you can see now it's pulling them all out along their respective directions, which in my case is exactly what I want. So maybe just give that a little bit of a lip right there. So not too much of one, just enough to create a little bit more of a raised area here. And if I were to press the plus key on my keyboard a couple of times, we can actually see that ridge now with a little bit more clarity. Now, last thing that I'll do is maybe just add a little bit more detail kind of right along in that corner to maybe just create a little bit more of a sharp edge. So again, just like what we did in our previous lesson, we can use our split edge tool, and I'll go ahead and middle click right along this edge and add a split right along the base, and this should really force that to hold its shape a little bit better and create a little bit more of a sharp transition. So there we are, something like that. And again, press the plus key on my keyboard a couple of times. Very nice. So that gives us now just a little bit of a ridge around this wing. Kind of helps accentuate some of that curvature and gives it a little bit more of that old style look as well. So if we wanted to, we could come in and maybe grab a few of those edges and maybe switch that back to a global mode. And maybe do just a little bit of tweaking and manipulation on there. If we wanted to have that raised up a little bit higher or a little bit lower. But overall, I think this is going to work really well for my needs. So at this point now, we are pretty much finished with the modeling of this wing. So now we just need to take that wing and move it over to the other side. Now, if you recall from one of our earlier lessons, we still have this surface mesh over here, which really we only needed this in place so that we could generate this nice clean mesh on this side of the aircraft, so we can actually build that nice little rounded piece around the wing. But really, we don't need this anymore, so we should be able to come in and safely delete that out. And now let's take these sections of our wing right over here with all three of these selected. Let's go ahead and make sure that we just freeze all the operators on that so we can go ahead and clear anything off. And again, with these selected, let's go to Edit, Duplicate, and Duplicate Symmetry. Again, we want to flip these across the X axis, so we'll leave this set to the YZ plane. Press OK. And there's our new set of wings. So it should come with all the same controls, all the same features, now just basically been mirrored over. Okay, very nice. So now that we have our set of wings that have been built up, we can now start to focus our attention on some other parts of the aircraft. So we'll begin working on those in our next lesson.